Battle of the Somme. This haunting picture is from the beginning of the 1960 Battle of the Somme, showing soldiers of the Royal Irish Rifles waiting in their trench before one of history's bloodiest military offensives would begin. You can see the grim look in their eyes. They are covered in mud and wearing their unique Brodie helmets, staring directly into the camera with expressions ranging from nervous anticipation to even sheer determination. But what makes this photograph so special is how the world changed once the battle started. These soldiers had a little idea about what awaited them just hours and days after this moment was captured. But they didn't know the intensity they would have to face to go through so much pain. The Battle of Somme officially began on July 1, 1960, and that single day became the deadliest in British military history. Don't understand the intensity. We need to know how many casualties occurred. By the time the sun set on the first day, nearly 20,000 British soldiers were on the ground, lying with another 40,000 wounded. The battle itself could drag on for nearly 5 months, finally ending in November 1916. When the guns finally fell silent, over 1 million men were killed or wounded on both sides. This particular image from the Battle of the Somme also depicts the whole picture perfectly. There are countless images on the internet from the battle with so many soldiers who were badly wounded, and they suffered the worst fate that they didn't even sign up for. The British and French forces suffered around 623,000 casualties, while German losses reached approximately 465,000 people. For all the bloodshed, the Allied forces gained only about 6 miles of territory. So was it worth it? Of course not. This battle was launched as part of a joint Franco-British offense designed to break through the German lines on the Western Front and even release some pressure that was put on the French forces that were being destroyed at Bordeaux back in the day. One of the British field marshals, Douglas Haig, even believed that a massive artillery bombardment, followed by the waves of infantry, could shatter the German defenses, but the numbers say otherwise. For around 7 days before the attack, British artillery destroyed German positions with over 1.7 billion shells. Military commanders were so confident that they ordered soldiers to walk, not run, across no man's land while carrying heavy packs weighing up to 66 pounds. However, this plan was a complete failure because the artillery bombardment failed to destroy German barbed wire or even knock out their deep underground bunkers. Looking at the photographs, we can see that these men already had an idea of the fate that awaited them. These soldiers represent an entire generation that got wiped out with so many casualties occurring. The Battle of the Somme came to symbolize the destruction that World War I brought and how outdated military tactics collided with modern weapons of mass destruction. Austrian soldiers versus Yugoslav. Another grim image that you won't find much on the internet is this disturbing moment from World War I, where the execution of unarmed Yugoslav prisoners by Austrian soldiers was happening. The image shows a firing squad taking aim at the blindfolded men who are kneeling down on the ground, with smoke already rising from the weapons, as some soldiers in the background are being shot. This wasn't combat or battle. This was just called bloody murder, and someone thought that it was quite important to take pictures of the whole thing. If you are unfamiliar with history, you might be wondering what exactly these Yugoslav people did. The term Yugoslavs refers to South Slavic people, including Serbs, Croats, Slovenes, and others who lived within the Austro-Hungarian Empire or even in the neighboring Balkan regions. And you might be wondering why these soldiers are getting killed. Well, here is what happened. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand by a Serbian nationalist in Sarajevo in 1914 sparked World War I. Then, Austria-Hungary's rage towards the Slavic population was intense and unforgiving. The empire viewed Slavic nationalism as an existential threat, and the paranoia sparked a war that would worsen for everyone. And the people that you see in the pictures and the victims of those shootings are executed Serbian soldiers. However, the brutality didn't stop there, because Serbian prisoners and civilians were also killed. Thousands of people lost their lives by being executed and even shot during the Austro-Hungarian invasion of Serbia in 1914. What makes this photograph really haunting is its clinical nature. The executioners are standing in formation with rifles that are ready to destroy them. The victims are blindfolded and needling while stripped of their dignity, even in the final moment. The fact that this execution was photographed raises many disturbing questions. Whether this photo was taken to warn others, or was it kept as a trophy? The answer died with many Austro-Hungarian soldiers from back in the days. And if you thought the previous photo was grim, Look at this photo of Serbs being executed by hanging, which is one of the most painful images to look at. Before we move to the next photograph, please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon if you like our content. And wait till our number 1 and number 2 photographs, because they will shock you. British soldiers sharing a cigarette with a German soldier. While this one isn't particularly haunting, it still shows the reality of the world. Even among so much brutality, there was profound humanity in World War I, where British soldiers shared a cigarette with a wounded German officer. Now this prisoner looks like he is straight out of a video game or from the Rocky movies. You can see that one soldier holds a cigarette to the German's lips while the other one steadies him. It's a simple act of kindness that transcends any hatred or violence between two nations. What makes this photograph so powerful is that it contrasts everything that was associated with war. Just minutes or hours before this photograph was taken, these men were fighting their butt off, trying to kill each other and gain extra pieces of land. They were in the trenches of war, trying to bomb each other, kill each other, and destroy the living hell out of each other. However, cigarette sharing among soldiers, even enemy soldiers, was a common ritual during World War I. Tobacco was one of the few comforts available during these grim times. This just shows that the actual soldiers weren't evil. It was the management behind everyone trying to ignite a lot of hate and instigate similar people to each other. The photograph also shows the complicated relationship between soldiers on opposing sides of the conflict. Many troops on both sides of the Western Front came to respect their enemies, recognizing that the British, German, or French soldiers in the opposite trench were just like them. In reality, there wasn't much difference. Nevertheless, while there were certainly instances of brutality and accusation, as we saw with the Austrian firing squad, there were also countless moments like this one where soldiers were wholesome to each other. Shell-shocked smile. Next up is this grim photograph that looks like it's taken out of a horror movie or something. It shows a soldier in a trench during WWI, with his face covered in mud and grime. He is displaying what appears to be a forced or perhaps a shell-shocked smile. The image is shocking because it shows a contrast between his grin and his eyes, but he seems to stare past the camera into nothingness. His helmet is also caked with dirt, his uniform is dirty, and everything about him speaks to the absolute degradation of human existence and the brutal reality of war. Trench warfare during WE made a soldier's conditions resemble those of the medieval era. Most of these men would live in narrow ditches that were carved into the earth, often flooded with water up to their knees or waist. Interestingly enough, the mud was everywhere with its thick nature mixed with human-based and decomposing bodies. However, the soldiers couldn't afford any luxury here and were forced to go through this painful experience. They couldn't survive alongside rats that fed on corpses and also grew to enormous sizes. The stench was overwhelming with a combination of rotting bushes, latrines, poison gas, and even unwashed bodies. Looking at this soldier's expression, it's impossible to know what he's thinking or even feeling. Do you think it's genuine happiness at still being alive, or is it maniacal laughter of someone whose mind has crashed but somehow he survived the battle so far? His eyes suggest that wherever his mind is, it's not fully present in the world as of this moment. There are many other photographs of the Thousand Blocks Day like this one, where the American Marine soldier is exhibiting the same stare after 2 days of constant fighting in the Battle of Eniwetok. Or if you're on the internet, you might have already seen Tom Lee's illustration of the 1,000-yard stare. That wasn't based on fiction, but rather real-life experiences. Even the most hardened soldiers would and will break during a world war. These conditions were often shown by millions of men across the Western Front. British, French, German, Canadian, Australian, and even American soldiers all had endured this nightmare for a long time. Russian soldiers' remains. This is the most haunting photo of World War I because it shows the skeletal remains of a soldier lying in the mud of the Western Front. This is a testimony to how many millions of people died and were never properly buried during World War I. The hand is still partially intact, and it reaches out from the earth as it is grasping for help that never really came. The Western Front became a vast graveyard stretching from the English Channel to the Swiss border. Approximately 9 million people died during the First World War, and there were countless bodies that were never recovered or even identified. Many soldiers simply vanished, dead, with the ultra-luminescent shells that could vaporize a human body entirely. For families back home, this uncertainty was in its own form of torture. They didn't know whether their son, husband, or father was dead, captured, alive, or just lying wounded somewhere, or maybe even died with the worst fate. This image just shows humans, and this image is supposed to show how brutal World War I was, where human remains were reduced to bones scattered in mud, with their literal body parts just roaming around the battlefield. And with that, our list of the 5 most haunting photos of World War I ended. Which one was most disturbing to you? Let us know in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel if you're looking for more videos like these.